All right, everybody, welcome back to the second episode of the Hit with Higgins and Boni. I'm Higgins, that's Boni. Today we have a very special guest joining us, first time guest ever, Ray Lucas, former NFL quarterback. We're going to let him in just a few minutes. Just a little bit of backstory on Ray, though, for people that aren't familiar. He's a 7-year NFL veteran, played quarterback for the Patriots, the Jets, the Dolphins, and briefly with the Ravens. He's one of Parcells' guys, probably the first Wildcat quarterback to ever be in the league. So we're going to get some good sound bites from him. So we're going to let him in right now. And we'll get some good quotes from Ray in a second. Yeah. Ray.
Well,
what up? What's up, Uncle Ray?
Nephew.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing good now.
Good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You like the jersey?
Little beard. I love the friggin' jersey, brother. Now, let me ask you a question. There's no cursing on this thing, right?
Hey, go nuts. Go nuts, man.
You heard him say it, Lou. Fucking say I can say whatever I want.
Perfect. All right, Boni, go ahead, man. You have the first question.
I'm hitting it off with the first question. That's a lot of pressure.
You got it.
How about the Jets, man? What's going on?
But you know what? To be honest with you, for the first time, let's say I've been doing TV 14 years. I have no fucking clue what's going on. You hire a coach in your division that didn't win at the Dolphins. You bring in Le'Veon Bell. You don't use them. You draft Sam Darnold. You don't put the pieces of the puzzle around him. I don't know how you could evaluate a talent as good as I think Sam Darnold is. So to me, it's just a bunch of, it's shocking to me how you fire Greg Williams. The offense had 3 turnovers. Who kept him in the game? You think it came down to that last play? That's the horseshit about the Jets. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, you're telling me it's just a level of incompetency that's been around for so many years, and you know it better than most. I mean, just being with them and watching them for so long, and you see guys like Ryan Tannehill, Kenny and Drake go off without Adam Gase as their head coach.
Well, he said both players were done.
Yeah.
Just Tannehill just got paid so much that, the Wells Fargo truck went beep, beep, beep up to his house. So to me, are they keeping him around because of the contract stuff? I'm a little shocked that they haven't fired him. But Joe Douglas, I think, is the best thing we have going for us. I mean, he was under Ozzie Newsome for 14 years. We finally have a GM that, I believe it. Let's put it that way. So it's going to be interesting to see. But then you say again, like, how do you evaluate Sam Darnold? And then you have the kid from Clemson sitting there at number 1. That's once in a lifetime talent. That's not a dude that you pass up.
Oh, no question. That guy's being compared to Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, John Elway. Like that's that type of prospect that's coming out. So you can't pass on him.
I don't see how you can.
No, that's why every Jets fan was screaming at the top of their lungs excited when Ruggs scored that touchdown because we want Trevor.
See, here's my thing. The players. We don't hear any of that stuff. You want to win every single game. It's our job. It's what we do. It's what we train for. I could tell you this right now. There's not one guy in that locker room that wants to be 0-12 right now. I mean, there isn't any. And it's so frustrating as a player. And, when you do TV for the Jets for so long, I'm a fan. You know what I mean? The best years of my NFL career were playing at home. So my family and friends could come see me. The problem I have is this. You take on the personality of your head coach. What is their personality? Can you answer that question? Either one of you.
No, I can't. I watched him for 12 weeks. There's no personality on that team.
No,
I guess from the outside looking, it's just like he just seems like he's like just like kind of clueless. Like he's just like kind of brain dead. He looks every interview I've seen him do. He just looks like he's like a deer in headlights. He has no idea what's happening. I mean, it's kind of appalling.
Something to do with the fact that he has 0 wins this year. So I mean, I probably look like a deer in the headlights too, but I didn't think he was the man for the job since the beginning.
I feel like everyone knew that was happening, and they hired him late in the process to begin with. Right. Looks like they were going to hire Matt Rule, and then they said you can't bring your staff with you.
Which is at least insane.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because look at what he's doing in Carolina. That team shouldn't be competitive, and they are.
Exactly, with the talent they have, and I mean they unloaded everyone in Carolina, and it's the coach. Coaching has a lot to do with it. I mean, in the end, players play. The coaches don't cross the white line, but at the same time, their mentality does. And I think that's a lot of stuff that the Jets fans are missing from, a guy like Adam Gase who, Jamal Adams wants to leave. What? Why would he want to leave New York? This market, I mean, like Frank Sinatra said, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, baby. And to go all the way out to Seattle, too. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope we get a sunny day. All that rain out there.
Weird. So wait, so no one likes Gase, but who would you hire this offseason? Like, who are your guys?
Who's out there? That's the question. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like quarterbacks nowadays. Where's the diamond in the rough? Where are you going to find one? Even in free agency, who's out there? Who can come in and coach? You let Mike McCarthy walk out of the building because you didn't let him pick his own staff. Now, granted, Dallas isn't doing well down there, but at the same time, the quarterback is not there. You know, everybody said Zeke. Dak Prescott is the real deal. But Mike McCarthy, look at the history. Super Bowl champion. So let me see. Mike McCarthy, Adam Gase. Where is it? Oh, okay. It's like that. You let him walk out because you don't want him to pick his own coach. It's ridiculous. So I'm praying to God that Joe Douglas does the right thing. I mean, coaches on the radar.
Yeah,
you tell me one.
Absolutely. So Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City, he's the offensive coordinator there. And that's, I mean, it's tough to evaluate because how much of that is Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes? You know, what has he done? But he's proven to be a solid assistant coach in the NFL. Players like him. The coaches like him. I think just with his offensive background too, it makes sense. I'm a huge fan of Matt Campbell. He's the head coach at Iowa State. You know, he turned that program around. I mean, Iowa State was nothing until he got there. I mean, they're going to be competing for the Big Ten championship in 2 weeks. So those are probably my top two guys. But honestly, as long as they're not, I don't want to see him going after like a retread. Like a report came out today about Bill Cowher possibly being interested. You know, like that's not.
His name was around like 3 years ago, and he was like, I'm never going back to the coaching ranks or all that other stuff. There's always a draw because like Parcells, you know, he retired how many times?
Yeah, I think
and it's in your blood. But Bill Cowher is also a proven winner. You know what I'm saying? Eric Bieniemy, I think, is very interesting, especially if Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback because he's mobile. You know what I'm saying? He could do the things Patrick Mahomes does. But let's not forget, in Kansas City, look at all the weapons Patrick Mahomes has. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes because he's unreal what he does with the football and how accurate he is. But at the same time, he's got all the pieces of the puzzle. So if the Jets fans think just because we get Trevor Lawrence, we're going to turn the ship around, they're going to be sadly mistaken because you need weapons everywhere.
And you know what?
I think another guy. Sorry about that. I think another guy that would be really good is Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator in San Francisco. Although they haven't been as good this year, I think he's someone that can change the culture immediately, and I think that's what you need in New York. You don't go 0-12 without players and a terrible culture.
I didn't even think of him down in San Francisco because you know he's a player's coach. I mean, I actually love watching him coach because he's in it. You know what I'm saying? It looks like he's a player. You know what I'm saying? I do think they got to bring somebody in here where the players are going to respond to. They're going to get their, I won't say hunger because you're always hungry when you play in the NFL, but I don't know. There's just that one thing that like Parcells was the kind of guy who made you believe in yourself first and then put you in the right situation for you to be successful, not ask you to do something that you can't do. And I think a lot of times these coaches, they don't adhere to what Sam Darnold does the best. You know what I'm saying? They want to just do what they think works, what the guru, and I don't even know how Adam Gase got the guru title. If anybody could explain that to me, please tweet me, do something because
I can tell you exactly right now. It's all because of Peyton Manning. He spent 2 years with him in Denver, and Peyton Manning goes out and says that Adam Gase is this quarterback guru who's in the film room all the time working hard, and that's all it is. I promise you, that's all it is.
If I coach Peyton Manning, then I would be a guru too then, right?
You absolutely
Peyton Manning doesn't need
absolutely.
It's ridiculous to say that. Ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's just, but you know what? They are set up nice, I think, because you lose out, you get the number one pick, you get Trevor Lawrence. You have 4 first-round picks the next 2 years. You have $90 million in cap space this year. I believe in Joe Douglas, like you said. I believe in Joe Douglas. I think he's awesome.
For the first time in a long time, we have a GM that is legit, like for real, seriously legit. You know, the Itzik stuff back in the day, like what in God's name? This is why Jet fans get so nuts, is because of the fact that you see the moves we do and the people we hire, and you're sitting there scratching your head like, the fuck is everybody thinking in that building? You know what I mean? So for me, it's more or less, you got the GM. That's probably one of the most important pieces next to the head coach, right? Because you got to get the players to come in. To me, I do like all 3 of those coaches that you mentioned. I like Eric Bieniemy better than anyone, to be honest with you, because we need some kind of offense here. I mean, we're the worst in the NFL in just about every goddamn category that there is. Even if they made one up, we would be last. So for me, Eric would be good to bring in. But again, like I said, dude, it all starts with the players. We haven't had a legit number one wide receiver, I don't know in how long. You look at pass rusher. Where's our pass rusher? We drafted 2 D linemen, and don't get me wrong, Williams is playing out. No, he's not. He presses the pocket. He's a great run stopper, and he's putting pressure on the quarterback. But I mean, a legit Jake Watt, somebody like that could come off the corner. We don't have that, and that's something that the defense is missing extremely.
Yeah, think about the last time that the Jets have had an edge rusher. It might have been what John
Abraham.
Yeah, I was going to say like John Abraham.
Yeah,
like, that's how long ago it was. That's 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you didn't say that. You didn't say that, Zach. Now you're freaking dating me and shit. Try to keep the years out of it.
I was born 20 years ago.
Yeah, man. But Abraham was legit pass rusher. We haven't had one, and you have to in this day and age in the passing league because everybody's throwing the football all over the place. You know what I mean? The running back position, besides Dallas, and even look at what Kansas City did last night, running Bell. How many times? So, 13 times in the first half. I know, but you have to have balance. In this league, Tennessee Titans are the friggin' quintessential run pass balance. You do have Henry, who's ridiculous, but Tannehill's just as amazing. You know what I mean? And that is a piece of the puzzle. Now, let's not forget our offensive line for the Jets is not very good either. Becton is a superstar, future Hall of Famer. Where's the rest of the line going? Seriously, think about it. Okay, we'll put back there. Don't matter. You can't protect anybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about Alex Lewis, who they just suspended for like 2 weeks for getting in a fight with Gase. That's the report out, at least. Even still, you have Lewis, McGovern.
That in itself, Zach, is so freaking funny that somebody has the balls to fight a head coach. Seriously, that's how bad the state of the Jets are. For real. Even if the report is bullshit, right? Even if it's still sexy to talk about. Like what kind of player would ever go after a head coach in the NFL? You know what player would be? The dumbest sumbitch in the world because he's never going to play again, ever. Because coaches look at that kind of stuff. Like he went after the head coach, but you kind of understand it when you talk about the Jets. That's how sad it is.
Yeah, it's believable because I feel like me not being a player, I wouldn't understand, but I feel like half those guys in that locker room would want to go after this guy.
For me, I was spoiled though. I had Parcells, I had Belichick. I think the only coach that, to me, well, 2 of them, Pete Carroll and Dave Wannstedt were, but it's hard to compare them to Parcells, and a Belichick. Mm-hmm. It's almost not fair. You know what I'm saying? But Pete Carroll in his own right now is better the second time around. He's a world champion. He's great coach. He also told me I would never play in the league until, I came back on Monday night in New England and crushed his ass. But it's tough, man. It really is tough. And when you try to pick a coach you think will blend, sometimes it don't work because of where you're at. You know what I mean? Like I was in New York. There was like 80 reporters in the locker room at one time. I went to Miami. There were 6. I said, when does the media come in? They go, this is it. I was like, holy shit. Dude, does anybody care about the Dolphins when we came down? It was insane. So again, like I said, man, you got to pick the right person. Joe Douglas will be judged on the next head coach. No question.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, thank you for that. Let's pivot real quick before we let you go. Talk about the Jets a little bit. Why don't we talk about Rutgers a little bit?
Because Rutgers a lot of it, baby. You know what I'm saying?
We could talk the whole rest of the show on Rutgers because it's crushing it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you what. I've been doing Rutgers for 12 years on the radio. But, I'm Scarlet. I bleed. I'm a Jersey boy. I chose to stay home to make the state great. Greg is going to turn that around where we're going to have Jersey guys, blue chippers, stay here. Because you could just see same kids from last year that, we couldn't even compete in the Big Ten are competing in every single game except maybe last Saturday. Even against Ohio State, we scored 24 in the second half, right? Remember what I said about the personality of your head coach? Mm-hmm. Same kids from last year to this year, and we're in every single game. In actuality, we should probably be, what are we now? 2-5. 2-5. We should probably be 4-3 right now.
Yeah, we should be Michigan. Absolutely.
Well, you know how I hate kickers, Zach. You know what I'm saying? We get one friggin' kicker to kick the field goal. That's a dub. If the quarterback makes better decisions in Illinois, that's a dub. So, again, but the fact that we're competing, you know what I mean? Even for someone like me who was considering not doing the radio because it's so hard to see your school struggle. You know what I'm saying? When you love Rutgers, like it's in me. It is me. And then to see the only coach that could have came in here and turned it around. Now, Don't get me wrong. This is a building process, but it is awesome to see these kids competing on a daily basis and being in games. I mean, it's so much more fun to call games now that he's back.
Oh, I could imagine. I mean, look at the recruiting class that's coming in too. You have 2 4-stars coming in.
Yep.
It's from the state of Jersey. It's awesome. This is what we all have been waiting for. When talks broke down and we freaked out about it because we knew that he was the guy. The only guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. When they heard that this stuff broke down, like I was calling the phone, texting Greg. Of course, he didn't answer my call, but that's okay. Texting him, calling him, please, you got to come. But in the end, the powers that be at Rutgers, the donors, they were heard loud and clear that Greg was the only guy for the job, and rightfully so. Here's my thing on this: one person does not make a football team great. You know what I mean? But the mentality of that one person has everybody believing in themselves that they could compete in every single game. Where I don't think the kids had that before. You know what I mean? Chris Ash, he went to Texas to be defense coordinator. I didn't care for him, to be honest with you. I really didn't. He doesn't have the temperament for Jersey people. It just didn't. We're different. Jersey boys are friggin' different. We do have an attitude. We are tough. Most of the time, I think we're tough. Well, sometimes. But for me, most of the time. But at the same time, you have to deal with the media, which is very difficult being in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of the teams. So Greg is so seasoned and I don't even know what prepared to deal with everything that comes our way now, that the kids are actually playing extremely well right now. I'm very proud of him too.
Definitely. I mean, he did it once. Think about where they were 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I was there when he got there and turned it around. And then next thing I know, of course, you don't pass up the NFL. A lot of people are like, I can't believe you left Rutgers. Man, if you're a coach, you want to get to the show just like a player does. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it's difficult for a head coach in college football to go to the NFL because it's so much faster, so much bigger. There's so much other crap you have to deal with that you don't have to deal with young men, right? Who's going out, who's late. There is none of that stuff. And with Greg, we had a better graduation rate. All right, let's talk real business, because that really is the most important thing for a student athlete to do, is make sure he gets that paper. I mean, Zach, you know my pops. He said, you don't graduate, I'll fucking kill you. I mean, it was that simple. They're going to use you for your talent, use them for your education. And Rutgers is outstanding school, academically. And they don't play games with their athletes. You're not going to find one of the athletes in underwater basket weaving and graduating with a scuba license. You know what I'm saying? It's not how we do things at Rutgers. So again, with Greg, the discipline's going to be there. The guys are going to want to come. I mean, look how many transfers we got.
I mean, yeah,
it's ridiculous.
They seem to be like the second school for every Big Ten player.
Yeah.
It's what it seems like the last couple of years.
Well, here's the thing too. When you're losing, how hard is it to recruit? And you know what I'm saying? We're in probably one of the best conferences in college football. I think we're in the best, football conference with all the teams we got. But at the same time, recruiting is so competitive. I mean, do we have the facilities? Hell yeah, we got the facilities. But when you're losing every game and you're not getting that exposure that, these young kids today, everybody thinks they're going to the NFL. You want exposure. You want to be on a team that's going to the Rose Bowl every year. You know what I'm saying? And Greg's the kind of coach that could get us back to that kind of prominence.
Absolutely. I mean, the sky's the limit with these guys. It really is. And they have talent already there. I mean, you've seen Bo Melton go crazy this year. He's been fantastic.
Shameem Jones. I mean, Greg is another guy. When he hired Tyquan Underwood, the old wide receiver from Rutgers, probably one of the best hires he did, because last year nobody could get open. Here we are judging all the quarterbacks. They suck. They can't throw the ball. Well, how do you throw to somebody that's fucking not open? You know what I'm saying? And you can't throw for your fucking back either when you're getting sacked every 5 seconds. So the addition of all these coaches, I mean, Gleason, holy crap. You know what I'm saying? We're scoring 30 friggin' points again. We could barely manage a friggin' field goal last year. His pickup was great. So again, sky's the limit, but it is a building process. You know what I'm saying, Andrew? It's going to have to take some time. But the fact that we're competitive right now, to me, is a telltale signs of how things are going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the building blocks have always been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the building blocks have always been there. I mean, the recruits that come out of Rutgers, I'm a Wisconsin football fan, and the running backs that have come out of Jersey, it's kind of ridiculous to me. You had Ryan, you had Corey Clement. I mean, as of recently, but I mean, like, yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, you could see that there. If you start recruiting, like, and Shiano's a great recruiter, obviously he's been in the NFL at Ohio State as recently. Like the potential's there, and it's once you start getting good in a generation, you can say, "Oh, I want to be a Rutgers, I want to be a Scarlet Knight," instead of going to like Michigan and all these other schools where it's like, I guess it's more attractive. But it's like getting those recruits, it changes everything.
It sure does, and I take it personally when I see a kid from New Jersey go someplace else, and it's hard for me because I made the decision with like a guy like Alcides Catana. Jay Bellamy, all these guys that I knew that were 5-star, blue chip athletes decided to stay home. And for a time, we changed the culture there for a little while, you know what I'm saying? And then it kind of went downhill again, but we were winning games. We were in the Big East, one of the best conferences in the country when I played. Miami, Boston College, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, you name it. We had them in there and we were competing all the time. But again, like I said, recruiting is everything, Andrew. You're 100% right. Like Saquon Barkley. Went to Penn State. Where did he commit to? Rutgers. Taylor, another one. Where did he commit to? Rutgers. Now we have somebody there to convince these kids to stay home. And what people don't realize is if one guy who's a 5-star athlete goes to Rutgers, there tends to be other guys that follow him there. You know what I'm saying? Because, oh my God, if this guy's going there, then maybe I'll go there too. Then the teams that they're on, those kids are thinking about going to Rutgers. And that's something we were missing for a long time.
Absolutely. All right, Ray, listen, thank you for coming on, man. That was great.
You know how long it's been since I got to fucking curse on like a show, dude? This is awesome. Whenever you need me, nephew, you call me. I'm coming back on.
Oh, we're having you on a bunch more times. Absolutely.
I'm in.
Absolutely.
I'm in 100%, dude. Absolutely. Andrew, whenever you need me, holler at me. This is fantastic. Now I could go and watch the rest of the game, have a little suds, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Enjoy the night, man.
Hey, Zach, by the way, that shirt, pretty tight, dude.
You like it?
Number 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
It better say Lucas and not Sanchez on the back. I'm fucking you up.
We don't rep Sanchez in this house. We rep Lucas in this house.
I love you, nephew. You guys take it easy.
Love you too. Say hi to all the girls for me.
We'll do.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
Peace.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
That was incredible. I mean, listen, he's a great interview, and he's just so electric with everything he says and the way he just commands the room. He really does.
Yeah, I think he has more hopes of homework. He's more hopeful about the Jets than any person I've ever talked to about the Jets.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's been around them for so long, and he's covered them on TV. I mean, he was there the last time where it was like they're real good. He
legit.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, if whoever's listening, check out his book. He's got a book out there. It's a great story. He talks all about his life. He talks about his time with the Jets. Playing with Curtis Martin, Vinny Testaverde, some of these great Jet players that they've had in the past. It's a really good read. But that just speaks to the fact that he knows the Jets' history and the culture better than a lot of people do. And you got to play for guys like Parcells and Belichick, like he just said. He knows. And I love his optimism because that's what you need to have. It's awesome.
And if there's one overlying thing, it's culture's everything. I think it's whether you're in professional work or you're in a Division I college lacrosse team, or you're in high school. I mean, your culture is everything. How you bring yourself to practice every day matters. It's truly like it's such a little thing, but it makes such a huge difference. And when you have everybody buying into what the coach is saying, it matters. You get results. I mean, the body language of Adam Gase is horrific. You're just not going to win games with that. So obviously they're going to move on from him. Obviously they're probably going to clean sail everything minus Joe Douglas. We'll see where this goes.
As all we can go from here is up. That's how I feel like you have to look at it, especially as a long-suffering Jets fan. That's the only thing I have. It's just to be positive about it. All you can go is up. We have the picks. We have the cap space. In Joe, we trust the whole way. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. There really isn't. So
yeah. So to pivot off the Jets, even though we could probably talk about the Jets all day because that's just it's kind of hilarious as an outsider. But I mean, if you're on Jets fans every day, it's kind of it's a little rough.
Man,
but to pivot off that, Browns Titans. Speaking of a team that was 0-16 4 years ago, where there was no hope in the city of Cleveland. It was a dumpster fire. It's been a dumpster fire since they've come back. They come out with a huge statement win. Obviously, they're going to have a winning record, which is the first time since 94. Belichick was the head coach of the Browns. But, I mean, they did it in a very convincing way. Obviously, if you watch the second half, it wasn't too convincing. But the first half spoke for itself, 37-0 38-7 at halftime. Baker Mayfield was playing incredible. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that dominating performance.
It was incredible. It really was. And Baker really showed out, and it's impressive. And we talked about it a little bit before the show. He's not playing in Cleveland. He's playing in Tennessee. So it's a little bit better environment for him. Let's see, 338, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he crushed it. He really did. And it's actually, this is the first time since 2007 they've had a winning record. And it looks like for the first time since 2002 they're going to make the playoffs, which is remarkable to look at where they were 3 short years ago. Kevin Stefanski has been phenomenal. Baker Mayfield, with all his flaws, they're 9-3. So you can't say that he isn't that good because they're 9-3. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt is the best running back tandem in the NFL. Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins showed out yesterday. So they have so much potential. They have work to do on the defensive side of the ball, for sure. You have Myles Garrett, you have Denzel Ward. Those are blue chip guys on your defensive side of the ball, but they need more on defense. But that doesn't mean they're not contenders right now. And we talked about it a little bit last week in our last podcast. Are they really contenders? I'm now more tempted to say yes. I really am.
I think for me to call them contenders, I think you need to see more consistency for Baker Mayfield. Obviously, the two kings of the AFC right now are the Steelers and Kansas City. Those two teams are miles. I mean, if you're watching right now, they're not looking, incredible. But, they're still winning. They're still winning. They're still dominant. They're doing their thing. Their defense is one of the best in the league, as you can see, watching. And just, they're 11-0 for a reason. So, it's I'm a little hesitant. I think Baker Mayfield still needs to become more consistent as a thrower. He's doing his job, but I think in these games you have to do more than what's expected of you. Absolutely. I think, to be fair to the Titans are a team that you can easily take them out of their game. If you get ahead, you stop the run, you make Ryan Tannehill beat you, I think there's a good chance you're going to win. And this is not taking anything away from the Browns. I think the Browns had a perfect game plan. Baker Mayfield did his thing, but they got turnovers. They stopped them in key moments of the game, and that's how they got out to this big lead. It's not the most sexy football, but it's the football that wins games.
Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, make no mistake about it. Tennessee is really good. Ray touched on it in his interview. Tannehill is good. Derrick Henry is that team, but Tannehill can still beat you. So to get out to that big of a lead in the first half is remarkable. It's a good team. You might see him again later on. Well, let's talk about one more game before we pivot into a little bit of the NBA offseason into preseason. Let's talk about Packers Philly, because what's on everybody's mind right now, it's Jalen Hurts. And it's not even a large sample size that we saw last night from Jalen Hurts, but it has people talking. Is he now the guy? Honestly, I don't think he's starting next week. I really don't. I don't think they would do that to Carson. For everybody also that's hating on Carson Wentz, it's not just his fault. There's so many holes on that team. It's impossible to be good. It really is. But I don't know. What are you thinking about that, Bon?
I think Jalen Hurts starts next week, and I think he starts the rest of the season.
Wow. Hot take. Absolutely.
Well, if you look at the team dynamics, the team played way better when Jalen Hurts was in the game. The team, the defense, there's no such thing as, you playing harder, but you could just see the energy. It was just a different energy level that Jalen Hurts is playing with. Do I think Jalen Hurts is better than Carson Wentz? Absolutely not. Carson Wentz is still, when he's on, he was on his way to becoming an MVP. And last year he took practice squad guys off the street to an NFC playoff, to the NFL playoffs. Sorry, conference league, whatever.
Hey, but, you're on the right track. You're on the right track.
Yeah, exactly. But he's really talented. But just looking at the team dynamics and just looking at kind of how they played with Jalen, they played better with Jalen. I think right now he gives them the best chance to win. Carson Wentz, there's something off. There's something wrong. I don't think it's all on him, as you said. I do agree with you that there's a lot of holes. Doug Peterson, why are they not running the ball more? You have Miles Sanders, who's probably a top 7 back in the league, you can argue. He's a great receiving option. He can run you the ball. That's the offensive line strength currently, is running the ball. They're not a good pass blocking offensive line, as you saw on Sunday. But Jalen Hurts gives you the best chance to win now. Carson Wentz, he needs to reevaluate himself. He just needs to get better. And he's not been good enough. He's asking for an explanation. Why am I not playing in a press conference? It's because you're not playing good enough. You're not getting the job done, so you're not going to play. It's that simple.
I mean, listen, he's struggled greatly. He has. And you have to look at it now. Is it a confidence thing with Carson Wentz? Because think back to 2017. He's probably the league MVP if he doesn't get hurt in week 12. Nick Foles comes in and wins Philadelphia Super Bowl, and he's back the next year. That has to hit at your confidence. And then instead of surrounding the guy you just paid a bunch of money to, let's draft this guy in the second round to be your backup. When really it's just a guy to push you or be there when you get hurt because he has had an injury problem. I think for him, what I would like to see for Carson Wentz is for him to be out of Philadelphia. I think that would be the best thing for Philadelphia. I think it'd be the best thing for Carson Wentz. I think it would just make sense for both sides because I think at this point he's done there. I really do. And it's hard to say that because he's a good, young, talented player. But it's kind of like you didn't do enough. If you're Philadelphia, you didn't do enough to help him. You didn't. And now you're stuck, though, because even though a change for both sides would be a good thing, no one's taking that contract if you're just willing to unload him. It's not going to happen. You're paying him like a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he's shown, at least this year, that he's definitely not a top 5 quarterback in this league. Could he be? Sure. But you're kind of stuck right now.
Yeah, I do agree. I think there are some potential shooters. I mean, I think if Phillip Rivers retires, if Big Ben retires, I think those two situations make a ton of sense for him. It's kind of like it's obviously a ton of money, but I think if you can get what he got out of him in 2017 with those defenses, I mean, with the weapons, I mean, at least from Pittsburgh side, the weapons they have with Deontay Johnson, with Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, there's a ton of weapons there that he really has not had the luxury of having in Philly. Yes, they have two really good tight ends, but I mean, they don't have that guy that's like kind of game changing outside as like a wide receiver. Like, oh, we have to worry about this guy kind of popping off against us. They don't really have that. There's no threat. Everything's kind of just within the middle of the field, or kind of what if you run like a little streak in the slot up the field. I mean, with Goddard or maybe that's your only deep ball threat, but there's really nobody that's pressing you. So I mean, I think those two suitors would be good for him. But yeah, I don't see him staying there. I just don't. With everything that's happened with this year and with how bad that division has been, and you don't win it with Carson Wentz, and you're paying him that much money. Yes, you're gonna have to buy him out or however that works within the NFL. But I mean, I just don't see him there.
It's a tough thing because if you're gonna pay him like a top 5 quarterback, and guys that are paid like top quarterbacks, think about someone. It's a different story just because he's been consistently great over his entire career. But look at the quarterback he played last night, Aaron Rodgers. What has he, besides 2010 and a little bit after with Jordy Nelson, what has he had besides Devontae Adams for the last 5 years? Really nothing. And if you're going to – but the thing is, though, he has the talent to carry a team. He has the talent to carry an offense like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, those guys, and you pay him accordingly. If you're going to pay Carson Wentz that kind of money, then there's a reasonable expectation that he should be not carrying you because you need help. It's not like those guys don't have help, but there's a reasonable expectation that you are masking a lot of the team's flaws. And he hasn't. And it's unfair to judge him off that, but he hasn't. And now the problem is, like you talked about Pittsburgh, Indianapolis. Pittsburgh absolutely doesn't have the cap space for that. Indy might. San Francisco, which would be another option, they won't. I think the best spot for him would be Indy, just because Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator the last time he was really good. But it's a tough situation, and I feel for the guy. I really do, because it's tough playing in Philly. I'm living here. I see how the way the Eagles fans act on a daily basis. Just all the hate is ridiculous, and I feel like he deserves better, but he also needs to play better. So.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the last time we were doing a podcast, there was a huge NBA trade that happened. I mean, we're in the middle of it. Yeah. It was a little Woj bomb that dropped. I mean, I don't know how big of a bomb it really was, but I mean, it was a significant bomb.
It's pretty big. That's a pretty big bomb right there.
Yeah, so what happened, well, you probably know, but the Rockets decided to trade Russell Westbrook to the Washington Wizards for John Wall and a first-round pick. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, I think that's just a move by two teams that don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. James Harden clearly wants out of Houston. So now it's like we have to get rid of Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook's only staying here if James Harden's here. You trade Russell Westbrook for basically Russell Westbrook light, a ball dominant guard who isn't great around the perimeter and is turnover prone. Also, not to mention a guy who hasn't played in a year and a half. You're getting a first round pick back, but it just takes you down. And we'll talk about where they stack up now in the Western Conference with James Harden still. It doesn't make sense for really either team. If anyone won this trade, it was Washington because I think now they're in the probably 6, 7, 8 range of the Eastern Conference just because Russell Westbrook will get you to the playoffs. Him and Bradley Beal will get you to the playoffs, I think. I really do. But it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like when I saw this trade, I was just like, oh, okay. Like you're just moving a like for like piece, and Houston's getting a first round pick that will probably be 13 through 20. Like great. Like that doesn't really do you that great in the NBA. I just think, especially if James Harden wants out, like why would you even like? I just like obviously both guys kind of want to Bradley Beal and James Harden. They kind of want to move on from their fellow point guards. I understand that, but I mean, if James Harden wants out, like it just doesn't make a ton of sense for me.
Yeah, because now
especially because that's a huge contract that John Wall has, and he has not played basketball as you said in a year and a half. Mm-hmm. It just felt like kind of one of those trades where it's like, it doesn't really affect the whole landscape of the NBA as a lot of probably the majority of the trades don't do. Obviously, if you're going to a contending team, I think that's kind of worthy of just like giving that some recognition. But like, I just felt like this trade was kind of just like, who cares? Like, Russell Westbrook's being moved around a lot. Mm-hmm. Is it unfair to him? Yes, I think his competitiveness, I think it turns off people for some reason. I don't know why. Like his shot selection is what style of basketball turns off people. Maybe I get that a little bit more, but I think he's still a productive guard in this league. He's still an all-star. He's going to be an all-star next year, no matter if you like it or not. And you know what? I think he's probably in a better situation for him where Bradley Beal is kind of he obviously he needs the ball just like any all-star, but he can play without it. He could shoot he's a great three-point shooter, and he was having a really underrated season in my opinion last year. I thought he could have been all-pro. He would have been on an all-pro team. I mean, he didn't even make the All-Star game, which was a little cringy.
It's absurd.
It was ridiculous. But I mean, yeah, I think that's a team in the East where it's like they get better, but they're not shaking anybody up. They're not shaking anything.
Right, like they're not going to contend with that 1 through 5, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But now I just thought of this. Think about Houston. So now you have John Wall. You just signed Christian Wood in the offseason. You signed Boogie Cousins, whatever he has left. There's not a lot left there besides James Harden. So now you're really in a position where I feel like you kind of have to trade James Harden. And the team that everyone's been talking about for a long time is Brooklyn. So theoretically, you trade James Harden to Brooklyn. You get back Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and 2 first-round picks. So now you have on that team, let's just theoretically, you have John Wall, Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Christian Wood, Jared Allen, DeMarcus Cousins. You're in no man's land. You're in no man's land. There's some talented guys on that team, and I think they can maybe go for like that 7-8 range. But Houston right now is stuck in the middle. Even with Harden, I think they're stuck in the middle. So it's kind of like in Philly when they first started the rebuilding process in the trust the process era. They were in the middle for a long time, and they traded for Andrew Bynum. And that was either going to get them up here or all the way down there. And it got them all the way to the bottom, and it started the rebuild. So you have to get them to a point where you got to go one way or the other. So it's either get somebody to play with Harden or get him out of there.
No, I definitely agree. And maybe if they do that trade, they get 2 high draft picks. Maybe something can come out of those. Probably not, because Brooklyn will probably be good for the next 3 to 4 years.
If Brooklyn gets James Harden,
big
they're not going to be hot. They're not going to be high.
Yeah, no, they're going to be very low and not good. But I mean, maybe you could attract a superstar. That could be a potential. I mean, no state income, no state taxes. It's nice in Texas. It's warm. The Colin Cowherd theory, where every NBA free agent wants to go to this nice warm weather city where it's not cold, not 20 degrees when you're getting off the plane in the winter, which I think does matter to some I think it's more of the tax breaks that they probably get in those states. But yeah, let's go to this Eastern Conference. You know, obviously the NBA is coming back fast and furious in a couple weeks. Actually on my birthday, which is kind of dope. But I mean, I guess I'm going to be watching so much NBA on that day, and probably not.
You're going to watch NBA and get rowdy. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, something like that. So obviously, we're going to go with the little Zach Higgins rankings here in the Eastern Conference. And what do you got for us? Let's start with the number one team. Might as well.
Number one team, it's very biased, but it's absolutely the truth. The Brooklyn Nets, the number one team in the Eastern Conference right now. Even without trading for James Harden, you have Kevin Durant, you have Kyrie Irving, Dinwiddie, Karras, Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan, Rodion Kubrick, Taurean Prince, Joe Harris. That team is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. And they have a first-year head coach and a first-time head coach in Steve Nash, which is interesting. But also what people aren't talking about is one of his assistants is Mike D'Antoni. You know, he's there. So there's an experienced coach on that bench to go along with also Amari Stoudemire, which is just incredible to me. It makes me laugh every single time.
Yeah, you got a little Houston. You got maybe not Houston, a little Phoenix reunion. You're going on back to
that bench,
taking it back.
Yeah, literally. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll keep going on the list. Number 2, Milwaukee, because as long as they have Giannis, they'll be a top 3 seed, no matter what's around him. They had a Drew Holiday in the offseason. They're going to be good with Giannis. They still have Middleton. They still have both Lopez brothers. They're going to be competitive. How far they go is a question. But what are you going to say, Bun?
Yeah, Bill's regular season coaching is undisputed. He's probably one of the best regular season head coaches. That team's they got to win this year. He's gone.
Oh yeah,
there's no way he's going to stay there.
Mm-hmm. No, it's championship or bust this year for them. It really is.
Even though they didn't say that, but it really is.
It is. It absolutely
is. Absolutely has to be championship or bust. Let's go with number 3. What's your number 3 team?
Number 3, Boston Celtics, for a lot of reasons. Jason Tatum is the best reason. Absolutely. The kid is a superstar in the making. He's incredibly good. Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker still, Marcus Smart. They have the talent around them. Now you lose Gordon Hayward, which how big of a blow is that? I don't know. I really don't know because he didn't do what he was expected he was going to do in Boston. Mostly because of his leg injury. But we'll see how much of an impact that has on the team. But you still have Daniel Tice and you still have Brad Stevens, which is the most important. They'll be, I think, competing for that 1, 2, 3 range. But now let's move down a little bit to the middle of the pack. Number 4, Miami. They were in the NBA championship last year for a reason. You know, Jimmy Butler. Culture. Absolutely. With Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, they're like the kings of culture. They know how to run a good program. And you still have Goran, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Bam Adebayo, Iggy. Their depth is ridiculous. I mean, they lost a little bit. They lost Jay Crowder. You don't have Solomon Hill, who had minutes for you last year. You did resign Myers Leonard. So you have depth still, and they'll be competitive. And I don't see why they couldn't get back to the NBA Finals. I don't think it'll happen, but it's not out of the question.
Yeah, this is a team that nobody's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's talking about every other team except for the Miami Heat, who literally were just playing 2 months ago in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be a little – this is the type of culture where there's not going to be that huge – there's not going to be a big honeymoon period. Oh, we were in the finals, you know, we dominated the bubble. No, this is a very good culture. Starts from the top up with Pat Riley, goes all the way down to the last guy. And there's just a great culture there. Will fatigue play a role in this? I think that's very possible. I think this is a storyline that really nobody's really talking about. This is the shortest off season these players have had probably ever.
Yeah,
I think the role of people traveling, you know, quick games, they haven't played in such a long time. It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about it for the Lakers, but not the Heat, because the Lakers are the big deal and the Heat aren't for whatever reason. I mean, well, listen, we know the reason, but still, they deserve their credit.
I mean, what does anybody else know? I mean, it's the Lakers or nobody else. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I do agree with that, and it's unfortunate if you're Miami because they like it this way. They like being this underdog that nobody's talking about, and you know what? They're gonna do the same thing they did last year, and they're gonna make a run, and they're like, wow, where did they like? We should have expected this. Yes, you should have, because this is a team with Jimmy Butler that's very good.
Mhm.
And you know what? They're not going to go anywhere because they're consistent. And you know what? They're going to show it to you. They're just gonna show it to you.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. As long as Jimmy Butler's there, they're not going anywhere. All right, let's pivot. Let's go number 5, Philadelphia 76ers. This is a team that I honestly didn't know where to put them because they could go as high as like 3 or as low as like 7. They really could. They have so many question marks on that team. I really believe that. You still have Joel Embiid, you have Ben Simmons. Those are your guys. But also Ben Simmons has his own question marks, and we all know what that is. He can't shoot the ball to save his life. You have a new coach, Doc Rivers, who has been successful, but he had his problems last year and the last couple of years in Los Angeles. You trade away Horford, you trade away Josh Richardson, 2 of the guys you brought in free agency last year. You get back Seth Curry, Danny Green, you draft Tyrese Maxey. You know, I don't know how to look at the 76ers. I feel like they have a lot of potential, but they also have a very low floor for a team.
I think this is one of the teams I think has actually really helped themselves this offseason. I think the acquisition of Daryl Morey has really given that team a little bit more life with shooters on the perimeter. I think this team's got a little bit more stock than you're giving them. I think they could potentially. I mean, let's see what happens with Ben Simmons if he decides to shoot the ball or not. But I mean, I think how they'll use Joel Embiid with Doc Rivers. I think there'll be more of a championship culture there. I think those two living together. I think that will be beneficial for both of them because it's clear and evidence and it's clear and obvious. If you've probably been a Sixers fan. There's always been something off there. I don't know if they're not close. I don't know if it was Brett Brown and his what he brought to the table every day. I mean, obviously, I did listen to Jimmy Butler's podcast with JJ Redick. I mean, maybe a couple of days ago, but just kind of what he was saying and the stories he was saying, it just didn't seem like Brett Brown really had like a ton of control. So I think this is a team that could be stock rising up and really could have stock. I mean, I think the Eastern Conference is probably the better conference. It's not just because, the Lakers are so I think it's just a little. I think 1 through 5 is probably better.
Okay,
maybe not 1, but I think I mean, the best team, but I think 2 through 5. I think the 76ers could easily be a top 2-3 team in the West.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you because they have the talent, and you did mention. I forgot to mention Daryl Morey. It's a great hire. It really is, and they have the talent to get there. And I really think their biggest problem last year was Brett Brown. Aside from the fact that they decided to give the max to Tobias Harris instead of Jimmy Butler, their biggest problem forever has been Brett Brown. It really has. So we'll see how much of an impact Doc Rivers has on that entire team, that front office, and the culture there in Philly. We'll see. We'll see. You know what? Also, what we touched on earlier with Miami, their expectations are low. Maybe not like low, but they're as low as they've been since they've gotten good. So we'll see. But here, we're going to finish off with the Eastern Conference, and then we're going to sign off. So let's hit 6, 7, and 8. 6, Toronto Raptors. They lost 2 big guys this year. You lost Marcus Gasol. You lost Serge Ibaka. You re-signed Fred VanVleet to go along with Kyle Lowry. You still have Spicy P, Pascal Siakam. You have OG Anunoby. And this is another team that it's tough for me because they have talent. And I think Nick Nurse is a fantastic coach. And this is a team that was in the NBA Finals 2 years ago. Granted, you had Kawhi, but it's still a talented team. I just don't see them having the same amount of talent as teams like Brooklyn, Boston, Philly, the teams that we just mentioned. I don't think they have it yet, or I don't think they have it right now. So I think probably 6, 7, 8 range for them would be realistic. But they've overperformed in the past. I mean, no one thought they'd be as good as they were last year. So who knows with Toronto? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's kind of a hard team to gauge because I think Nick Nurse, I think he's such a great coach that you can kind of cover weaknesses within a team, especially like the Raptors, especially last year where they weren't as talented as, the other teams that were probably in the East. You'd probably say they're probably the 4th, 5th most talented team last year, and they got the 2nd, 3rd seed. I don't remember exactly, but
second seed.
Second seed, exactly. Like that's the point being where it's like they kind of Nick Nurse is such a great coach, and I think Pascal Siakam made a huge jump. Let's see if he makes another big jump with maybe a little bit more rest than the other teams within the Eastern Conference. Just pretty much the Miami Heat, but I mean, we'll see. Obviously, I think without that interior presence, I don't think they're going to be the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, especially with the Nets kind of being as prevalent as they are, and obviously the Bucks are better with Drew Holiday, and the 76ers, they made great moves as well. Where the Raptors, they're coming off a championship. 2 years ago. It's just maybe the decline starting to start. I don't know. I'm not going to really put that out there, but I think, I think it's a players' league. The NBA, at the end of the day, it's who you have as players. It's not as much relying on, within the NFL, there's a structure. Like, you need to have a good GM, a good head coach, and an elite quarterback. That's what you need, and you're halfway there, and you need a good defense. You obviously need a great offensive line and stuff. In the NBA, it's like you can cover a lot with just having 3-star players and, role guys that can fulfill a role and be good in their role.
No question.
And I don't think the Raptors necessarily have that.
No, I don't either. I don't. But we'll see. They've surprised us in the past. But here, let's wrap up a little bit. We're going a little long here, so let's wrap up. We talked about Washington. That's my number 7 seed for right now, just because I think Russell Westbrook carries you into the playoffs. I really do. But now, number 8. This is my surprise team. It's a team that made some good offseason acquisitions. Atlanta Hawks. You have Trae Young. You added Bogdanovich. You added Gallinari to go along with John Collins. So they have a really good nucleus of young talent. And there's no reason for me to believe that they can't get that 8 seed. Are they going to get it? It's not guaranteed, but they have a really good young nucleus there. So we'll see what happens with them. What do you think, Bon? What do you think about the
Hawks? I think that's a reasonable pick. Trae Young is obviously ascending. I think the addition of Rajon Rondo is going to be a lot bigger than a lot of people think. Rajon Rondo seems to just kind of like give wisdom to people and they just start winning. So maybe that happens. Obviously, his basketball IQ is going to go through the roof and he's going to become a lot more of a facilitator, with Rondo there. And Rondo's got that championship DNA going back to Boston and then most recently last year with the Los Angeles Lakers. So I think that's a big addition. And I think just getting playoff experience is obviously what Trae Young needs in this, especially with probably fans hopefully coming back, just being in that environment and just understanding what it takes to win. You just I think that's such a big element of just athletics in general, just understanding what it takes to win at any level can kind of just gives you a nice little mental state of like, all right, I know what it takes now. It's just about building on top of that. So I think that would be a great first step for the Hawks.
Yeah, in the NBA, you need to learn how to win. It doesn't just happen. You talk about like in the 80s and 90s, the Pistons had to learn how to win. The Bulls had to learn how to win. It doesn't just come to you. You have to find a way to learn from the older guys, build that culture, because it is a player's culture. It's a cohesive team that wins the title. Even if you don't have LeBron, if you have LeBron, then you're winning the title most of the time, or you're competing for that final. But for the most part, for everybody else, you have to be a good team and you have to learn how to win. And I think the Atlanta Hawks this year will learn how to win, at least come very close to learning how to win. So, but that's to be seen. And we don't have to wait long for that to happen. NBA season starting in a couple of weeks. I'm excited for it. It's going to be great. Hopefully we can get fans in the stands soon, but that's to be seen. Like I said, we'll see. It's everything's up in the air.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. And so I guess that's concluding this episode. Yeah. Obviously we had a great interview with Mr. Ray Lucas, who absolutely just crushed it. And, you saw it for yourself, man.
Yeah. There's nothing really you can say about Ray. He's incredible. We're going to have him back on the show real soon. But yeah, that's going to conclude today's episode of The Hit with Higgins and Boni. I'm Higgins. That's Boni. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.